"We are going tomorrow, Mom. I sold your house." Those words slammed into me like a tidal wave. My hands froze on the countertop. My house, the place I had poured my heart into for over 2 decades, the walls that had witnessed my happiest moments, my heartbreaks, and the quiet everyday moments that never made it into photos, was gone, sold, and I hadn't even known it was possible. Before we dive deeper into this shocking story, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single twist of this suspenseful journey. Let me start by telling you a little about myself, so you understand why this hits me so hard. My name is Elizabeth Morgan. I'm 42 years old and I've lived in this house for over 20 years. I raised my 2 children here, one of whom, my eldest, made this shocking decision without even talking to me. I've worked hard all my life, balancing a demanding career, running this household, and keeping our family together. This house has been more than walls and a roof. It's been my anchor, my safe space, the one place where I could breathe. Memories rushed back, my fingers tracing the worn banister in the hallway, the scent of fresh paint from the time I had redecorated the living room, the garden where we had planted flowers together and watched them grow year after year. Every corner of that house was stitched into the fabric of my life, and now it felt like someone had ripped that fabric apart. I searched my child's eyes for a flicker of regret, a hint that this was some cruel joke, but there was nothing, only calm, unsettling certainty. And behind it I felt the faintest shadow of something hidden, something dangerous, something I wasn't ready to understand. My mind raced in a storm of questions. Why would you do this? Was it desperation, rebellion, or some plan I couldn't see? Who bought it? A complete stranger or someone I once trusted? What about all the memories, the keepsakes tucked into drawers, the photographs, the letters? Were they gone forever? I couldn't stop thinking about how long I had built this life, saving every penny, repairing every creak, decorating every room with care. Every laugh, every tear, every ordinary day had been lived here. And now, in a single decision, it felt like my world had been ripped apart. I sat down in the living room, staring at the couch where my children had spent countless evenings with me, telling stories, or just leaning into my arms. I remembered late nights when my child had come crying about school, heartbreaks, or friends, and I had comforted them. I thought about the first time they had learned to ride a bike on the driveway, the scraped knees, the laughter, the tears. I had built memories in every corner of this house, and now someone else might be walking through these rooms, unaware of the lives that had unfolded here. And yet, even in my heartbreak, a flicker of suspicion began to form. The calm certainty in my child's eyes. It wasn't fear, remorse, or even guilt. It was purpose. Something hidden. And deep down, I knew this house was never just a home. It had always been more. Maybe there were secrets I had ignored, warnings I had missed, or truths buried beneath years of comfort and routine. I didn't know it yet, but this sale would set off a chain of events I could never have imagined. Secrets I didn't know existed would be revealed. Decisions I thought were mine would be challenged. And my relationship with my child, the one person I trusted above all else, would be tested in ways I wasn't prepared for. After the shock of hearing that my house was sold, I couldn't sleep that night. My mind was a storm of emotions, anger, disbelief, fear, and a gnawing sadness. I kept replaying my child's words. "We are going tomorrow, Mom. I sold your house." Why? How could someone I trusted make a decision that shook the foundation of my life without even telling me? I sat at the kitchen table, sipping lukewarm tea, and remembered how this all started. My name is Elizabeth Morgan, and for over 20 years I had poured my heart into this home. It wasn't just a building, it was our family's sanctuary. My husband, who passed 10 years ago, had built the foundations of our life here. I raised my 2 children alone after his death, trying to be both mother and father, protector and guide. I recalled small, bittersweet moments. My eldest, Jason, had always been ambitious, driven, but also secretive. I remembered the time he hid a failing grade from me because he thought I would be disappointed. I had confronted him gently then, explaining that honesty mattered more than perfection. And yet, now he had sold the house without a word. I wondered if I had missed signs all these years, small cracks that had turned into a chasm. My younger child, Emily, was different, sensitive, emotional, but also fiercely loyal. She had always been closer to me in the house, sitting on the sofa beside me, sharing stories about school, friends, and dreams. I remembered Emily helping me plant tulips in the garden last spring. She had laughed so freely, unaware that in a few months, our home would no longer belong to us. Then there was Jason. My mind went back to moments that at the time seemed small and harmless. The way he stayed out late with friends, the secret phone calls I couldn't understand, the hidden notebooks he never let me see. Could it all have been preparation for this? Selling the house without telling me? Hiding details, keeping secrets? The thought gnawed at my heart. I remembered a particular afternoon, 2 years ago, when Jason had approached me with an unusual request. "Mom," he had said hesitantly, "I need to borrow some money for a project." I had laughed, thinking it was another school assignment, another hobby he would abandon halfway through. But now I wondered, was that request the first thread in a plan I hadn't seen unfolding? The tension in our family had always been subtle but present. After my husband's death, I had struggled to keep everyone together. We had financial ups and downs, disagreements about responsibilities, and unspoken resentments that grew quietly over time. Jason had always felt the pressure to succeed, to take care of us, and yet there were moments he seemed distant, even defiant. I tried to recall every recent interaction, every glance, every word. Had I noticed the hesitation in his voice, the flicker of secret determination behind his eyes? I remembered last month when he had mentioned exploring investment opportunities. He had said, "Mom, sometimes we need to take bold steps to secure the future." Bold steps. I hadn't realized then how literal he would take that. And Emily, she had noticed it too. Just yesterday, she had looked at Jason nervously and said, "Are you sure about all this? Mom will be heartbroken." Jason had smiled, calm and confident, and replied vaguely, "Don't worry, it's for the best." That was it. That single phrase now haunted me. It's for the best. For whom? For what? I spent the next day revisiting every room in the house, searching for answers. The living room, where we'd gathered for movie nights. The kitchen, where laughter had echoed over meals. The study, where Jason used to do homework. The garden, blooming with flowers Emily had planted. Every corner told a story, and yet now each memory felt tainted by the shadow of betrayal. As I moved from room to room, I realized something else. This house had always been more than a home. There were whispers of family secrets, things I had ignored or overlooked, old letters hidden in drawers, boxes of documents in the attic, and a sense that not everything about our past was as simple as it seemed. Perhaps Jason had known something I didn't. Perhaps selling the house wasn't just a reckless decision. Perhaps it was intentional. That night, I sat on my bed, staring at the ceiling, piecing together fragments of conversations, arguments, and subtle hints from the past. The house may have been sold, but its story was far from over. Something told me that the sale was only the beginning, and what Jason had done might have far-reaching consequences, consequences that none of us were prepared to face. I realized that the tension in our family, the subtle resentments, the hidden ambitions, and the secrets we thought were buried, everything had been leading up to this moment. The house wasn't just a place we lived, it was a symbol of trust, love, and security. And now that symbol had been challenged in the most shocking way imaginable. And deep down, a small, terrifying thought began to creep in. What if selling the house was only the first of many surprises? The morning after Jason dropped the bomb about selling the house, I felt like I was walking in a fog. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep properly, and every sound seemed amplified. The creak of the floorboards, the hum of the refrigerator, even the distant chirping of birds outside. It was all a reminder that our house, my safe haven, was no longer mine. I needed answers. I started by checking my emails, bank accounts, and any paperwork I could find. My hands trembled as I scrolled through messages and statements. There it was, a finalized sale document. My name was nowhere on it as the seller, because legally, Jason had handled everything in his own name. The buyer's name stared back at me, foreign and unfamiliar, and a wave of panic surged through me. I tried calling Jason immediately. "Jason, what is going on? Who bought it? Why didn't you tell me?" My voice shook. "I told you, Mom," he said, calm, almost unnervingly so. "It was the right decision. You'll understand soon." I slammed the phone down. Understanding soon. I had no idea how selling a house, my house, without my knowledge could ever be right. and the calmness in his voice only deepened my unease. I decided to dig deeper. I contacted the real estate agent, hoping for some clarity. "Mrs. Morgan, the sale was legitimate," the agent explained politely. "All documents were signed by Mr. Jason Morgan. Everything is by the book." "But there's something off," I pressed, my instincts screaming. "The buyer, can you tell me more about them?" I'm afraid that information is confidential," the agent said, almost too quickly. "You can contact the buyer yourself if you wish." My stomach turned. Something about the speed, the secrecy, and the firm tone of the agent made me realize this wasn't a normal transaction. The house sale was more than just a legal matter. Someone wanted this property, and Jason had made sure they got it, no questions asked. I decided to investigate the house itself. I drove to the property's address, though I knew it was no longer mine. The moment I stepped onto the driveway, I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. The windows were pristine, the lawn perfectly trimmed, yet it all felt alien. Strangers were inside, moving furniture, cleaning rooms. I wanted to scream, to run inside and reclaim what was mine, but I knew legally I couldn't. Then I noticed something strange. On the front porch, a small folded envelope had been left, almost deliberately addressed to me. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a single note written in careful writing. "Do not interfere. This house holds more than you know. Trust your child for now." The words made my blood run cold. Who was warning me, and why? I glanced around, but there was no one in sight. It was as if the house itself was sending me a message, hinting at secrets buried beneath the walls I thought I knew so well. I went home and tried to confront Jason again. "Why? Why would you sell it?" I demanded, pacing the living room. "Everything we built here, gone overnight, and this mysterious buyer, who are they?" Jason hesitated, and for a moment I saw a flicker of something, regret, fear in his eyes. But then he smiled faintly. "Mom, I can't explain everything yet. You'll see. It had to happen for your safety." My heart stopped. Safety? What did he mean? Was he protecting me from something? Or protecting someone else? The thought that my own child might be hiding a dangerous truth made the hairs on my arms stand up. Determined to find answers, I began digging into the buyer. Public records, property listings, social media, anything that could give me a clue. The more I searched, the more I realized this wasn't just a simple sale. The buyer had connections, people who moved quietly, leaving barely a trace. There were mentions of wealthy investors, shadowy business dealings, and hints that this house might have something valuable hidden inside, something beyond memories and bricks. Night after night, I pieced together fragments of information. I looked through old family documents, boxes in the attic, and files Jason had left behind. A pattern began to emerge. My child had acted with purpose, precision, and knowledge that I hadn't realized they possessed. This wasn't impulsive or rebellious. It was calculated. And yet, every clue only deepened the mystery. Why would Jason sell the house and involve such secretive people? And why leave me in the dark? My mind churned with possibilities. Was he protecting me from a dangerous secret hidden in the house? Or had he been manipulated into helping someone else? Could there be legal, financial, or even criminal consequences waiting for us? The tension in our family had reached a breaking point. I was torn between anger, fear, and the desperate need to understand my child's motives. The house was gone, but its story was far from over. Every document, every conversation, every mysterious detail added layers of suspense I couldn't ignore. And deep inside, I knew one thing. The sale of the house was only the beginning. What Jason had done would set off a chain of events we could never have anticipated, secrets that might shatter our family, and dangers that lurked in shadows I couldn't yet see. The days after the sale were restless. I couldn't focus on anything. Work, chores, even small daily tasks felt meaningless. My thoughts were consumed by the house, by the questions I still didn't have answers to. Who was the buyer? What had Jason known that I didn't? And why had he acted so deliberately? Unable to resist, I decided to revisit the house. Despite it no longer being legally mine, I needed to see it with my own eyes, to feel the space, to perhaps uncover clues about Jason's motives. Driving there, my heart pounded, as if warning me this was not going to be a normal visit. The house looked untouched from the outside, almost pristine. The lawn was neatly trimmed, the curtains drawn, giving the impression that someone had moved in carefully, deliberately, aware of every detail. As I approached the front door, I hesitated. The lock had been changed, of course, but I noticed a faint detail, a small scratch on the side of the door frame. Someone had tampered with it recently. I circled the house, inspecting windows and doors. That's when I saw it, a faint outline in the garden, near where Emily and I had planted tulips last spring. The soil had been disturbed, and part of the flower bed looked like it had been dug up and then hastily replanted. My pulse quickened. Someone had been looking for something. I took a deep breath and returned home, determined to investigate further from my own records. I combed through old documents, letters and boxes of files Jason had left behind. That's when I stumbled upon a folder I had never noticed before, tucked in a corner of the attic under an old blanket. It was a plain manila envelope labelled only with my initials, EM, and the date, 1999. Inside were letters, photographs and documents I didn't recognise. Some were correspondence from distant relatives, hints of financial dealings I had never understood, and maps of the property showing areas I had never paid attention to. One photograph in particular caught my eye, a small hatch in the floor of the study hidden beneath the rug. I had never noticed it before. Could it be a secret compartment? I searched for tools, a flashlight, and returned to the house at night. Standing in the study, I moved the rug and found it, a small wooden hatch, almost invisible in the dim light. My hands shook as I lifted it, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. My heart pounded. What had been hidden here for all these years? Cautiously, I descended the stairs. The air was damp, musty and cold, as though this space hadn't been touched in decades. The walls were lined with shelves, boxes and crates. Documents, old ledgers, and bundles of papers filled every corner. There were journals belonging to previous owners of the property, legal documents hinting at disputes, and, most startling, a small locked chest in the centre of the room. I tried to open it, but it was heavy and secured with a padlock. I searched nearby and found a key taped under one of the shelves. Trembling, I unlocked it. Inside were photographs, letters, and papers detailing a long-forgotten family secret, one that connected my own family to distant relatives, inheritance claims, and even hints of valuable assets hidden within the property. As I sifted through the documents, the realization hit me. Jason had known about this. The sale wasn't random. It wasn't impulsive. He had acted with purpose, perhaps to protect me, perhaps to secure something I had never realized existed. But the documents were incomplete, cryptic, and left me with more questions than answers. And then I noticed something else, a small envelope at the bottom of the chest marked in Jason's handwriting, "For Mom when the time is right." My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a single note. "Mom, you must understand, everything I did was to protect you. The house, the documents, the sale, it's all part of a bigger plan. But you must be careful. There are others who know too." Fear and confusion gripped me. Others who knew? What had I missed all these years, and why was Jason keeping secrets from me while also trying to protect me? I realized the house was never just a home. Beneath the surface, it held hidden rooms, forgotten documents, and secrets that had been buried for decades. And now, with the sale complete, these secrets were exposed in ways I could not have predicted. The house, which I thought I knew inside and out, had revealed itself to be a labyrinth of history, mystery, and danger. I sat in the hidden room, surrounded by documents and photographs, trying to piece together the puzzle. Every answer seemed to lead to another question. Jason's actions, once incomprehensible, now suggested that he had known far more than I ever imagined, and that the house's sale was only the first step in a chain of events that could change our lives forever. By the time I emerged from the basement, the night had deepened, shadows stretching across the lawn. The house looked ordinary again from the outside, but I knew better. Every brick, every corner, every shadow held secrets waiting to be uncovered, and the thought of what else Jason knew and what the mysterious buyer might want kept me awake for hours, heart racing, mind spinning with possibilities. I had spent weeks trying to understand Jason's actions, piecing together documents, revisiting the house, and examining the hidden room he had led me to, but I still didn't have the full picture. I realized that if I truly wanted to understand, I had to try to see the situation from Jason's point of view. Jason had always been intelligent, methodical, and careful. From a young age, he had a sense of responsibility that often worried me. I had to remind myself that sometimes children carry burdens parents cannot see. He was ambitious, yes, but also secretive. And now, after discovering the hidden documents and letters in the house, I began to see the reasoning behind his actions. From Jason's perspective, the house was never just a home either. He had seen the signs, legal loopholes, potential threats, and dangers that I had chosen to ignore, or perhaps was too busy to notice. For years, he had quietly gathered information about our finances, the house's history, and the shadowy connections linked to it. He understood that our family's safety, our financial security, and even our legacy could be at risk if the wrong people discovered what was hidden in our house. I imagined him sitting at his desk late at night, reading documents, making calculations, weighing risks. Every decision had been measured, every step deliberate. Selling the house wasn't an act of rebellion or disrespect. It was a strategic move, a shield meant to protect me and Emily from dangers we weren't even aware of. I remembered the day he had said, "Mom, sometimes we need to take bold steps to secure the future." I had dismissed it then as a vague, ambitious statement. But now, with the letters and hidden documents in my hands, I realized he had been speaking literally. Jason had also known the buyer personally, not as a friend, but as someone who could act as a guardian of sorts. Someone who would keep the house's secrets safe while the rest of the world remained unaware. It was a partnership shrouded in discretion and subtle power, one that ensured the safety of our family while maintaining appearances. I could almost hear Jason in my mind thinking, "I can't tell Mom yet, she'll worry and she doesn't need this stress. I have to act, even if she doesn't understand. I have to protect her." And that was the most painful truth of all. The very child I had felt betrayed by, the one I had thought acted selfishly, had actually carried the heaviest burden of all. He had been acting in silence, sacrificing trust and closeness to safeguard us. Every evasive answer, every cryptic smile, every moment of secrecy now made sense. But it also left me with a complex mix of emotions: relief, awe, guilt, and lingering doubt. I began to see the risk and danger Jason had sensed. The house's hidden rooms and documents were not just relics of our past. They were pieces of a puzzle that powerful, determined people could exploit if they discovered them. By selling the house, Jason had kept us one step ahead of threats we didn't fully understand, while also giving us time to uncover the truth slowly, safely, and on our own terms. But there was one thing I still didn't know: how far Jason had gone, and whether there were consequences I hadn't foreseen. His note left in the hidden room warned me there are others who know too. Who were they? And were they watching, waiting for a misstep? Jason's perspective gave me clarity, but it also deepened the suspense. I understood his intentions, yes, but the full story was still hidden, like a puzzle with pieces scattered across time and space. And I realized that in order to truly uncover the truth, I would have to confront him, ask the questions I had held back, and trust him completely, even though I didn't yet know the full extent of the plan. As I sat in the empty house, imagining his thoughts, I felt a strange mix of emotions: gratitude, frustration, fear, and hope. Jason had acted out of love, but also out of necessity, and now I had a choice: to panic and push away, or to follow the path he had laid, unravel the secrets, and face whatever dangers awaited us. I knew one thing for certain: the sale of the house was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of a journey, one that would test every bond in our family, reveal truths hidden for decades, and expose secrets that some people would kill to protect. And deep inside, I felt the first flicker of understanding. Jason had carried a weight I had never seen, and now it was time for me to step into his world, uncover the full truth, and confront the consequences of what had been set in motion. The next morning, I knew I couldn't avoid it any longer. I had to confront Jason, not with anger, not with accusations, but with questions I needed answers to. The house had been sold, the hidden room discovered, and the documents examined. Every secret piece of information pointed to one undeniable truth: Jason had acted with knowledge, purpose, and foresight. But the full reasoning, the full story, remained a mystery. I found him in the study, sitting quietly with his laptop open, a calm expression masking the storm I knew must be inside him. My hands trembled as I stepped into the room. "Jason, we need to talk," I said, my voice wavering. He looked up, a flicker of guilt or perhaps anticipation in his eyes. "I know, Mom, I expected this." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "Why did you sell the house without telling me? After everything we've built, everything we've shared here. Why?" He hesitated, then gestured for me to sit. "Mom, please, let me explain everything from the beginning. You deserve to know the truth." I sank into the chair, my heart racing. He began slowly, carefully, revealing a side I had never seen. Meticulous planning, research, and years of observation. "The house wasn't just a home," he started. "There were things hidden here, things that could have put us all in danger if the wrong people found them. I discovered the documents, the hidden rooms, and the ledgers months ago. At first I didn't know how to act. I couldn't tell you because some of the people involved, they don't hesitate. If they knew I told anyone, including you, we could have been at risk." I felt a chill. "Danger? What kind of danger?" Jason hesitated, then pulled out a folder from his backpack. Inside were copies of documents I had seen in the hidden room, financial records, legal contracts, and correspondence that pointed to powerful individuals who had claims on the property and our family's assets. "They wanted the house," he explained, "and everything tied to it. If we hadn't acted, they would have taken it. Possibly more than that." I had to make a choice. Risk everything by keeping the house, or protect you and Emily by selling it, at least temporarily, to someone who would safeguard the secrets until we understood the full picture. I sat back, overwhelmed. The betrayal I had felt, the anger, the hurt, began to mix with a dawning understanding. "So, you did this to protect us?" I whispered. He nodded. "Yes, and there's more. The buyer isn't random. There's someone we can trust, someone who will keep the house safe and ensure that none of the dangerous individuals gain access to what's hidden inside. I had to act quickly, Mom, and I knew you would be upset, but it was necessary." Tears blurred my vision. "All these years, I thought I was raising a child, but you were carrying burdens I didn't even know existed." Jason reached across the desk, taking my hand. "I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to worry. I wanted to handle it, but now you need to know everything, and we'll face what's coming together." That's when the real revelation came. He pulled out one final document, a map of the property with markings I hadn't seen before. It showed a second hidden room, larger than the first, and notes about items of significant value and importance. "Mom," he said softly, "this is why I acted. There's something in that room, something people have been searching for decades. I couldn't risk anyone finding it. Selling the house was the only way to secure it until we were ready." The shock hit me like a second wave. Not only had Jason sold the house to protect us, but he had also safeguarded something beyond our understanding, something potentially life-changing, dangerous, or invaluable. I felt a mix of relief and fear. Relief that Jason had acted out of love, fear of what dangers might still be lurking. And yet, a strange sense of awe overtook me. My child, who I had once thought acted recklessly or selfishly, had carried a burden I could never have imagined. We spent the next hours piecing together the information he had collected, the buyers, the hidden rooms, the documents, and the threats. Each revelation brought new questions, but one truth became undeniable. Jason's actions, however secretive, had protected our family and preserved the legacy of this house. And in that moment, I realized something else. A deeper bond between us had been forged in secrecy, in courage, and in love. The confrontation which I had feared would destroy trust instead became the turning point. The veil had been lifted, and while danger still lingered, we were now prepared to face it together. After the confrontation with Jason, a strange calm settled over me, though it was more like the calm before a storm. I understood his motives. I knew he had acted to protect us. But the reality was clear. We had only begun to scratch the surface of what the house truly held. The final hidden room remained unexplored, and the documents hinted at treasures and dangers I couldn't yet fully comprehend. Jason and I returned to the house together, this time not as a mother confronting a rebellious child, but as a team, two people bound by love, trust, and the shared mission of uncovering the truth. Standing in the study, we traced the map Jason had discovered. It led to a section of the basement I had never explored. The walls were old, dusty, and filled with cobwebs. My heart thumped as we moved the boxes and furniture aside. A large panel in the wall, almost invisible, revealed a doorway. The air that escaped was cold, stale, and carried the faint scent of aged wood and paper. "Are you sure about this?" I whispered, gripping Jason's arm. He nodded. "We have to. This is everything." We descended slowly, flashlight beams cutting through the darkness. The hidden room was enormous, larger than I could have imagined. Rows of shelves lined the walls, filled with old crates, leather-bound books, and metal boxes sealed with locks. My hands shook as I ran my fingers along the surfaces, realizing that this room had been untouched for decades. Jason went straight to a stack of crates. "These are the most important," he said. One by one, we opened them, revealing artifacts, old letters, and financial records that traced our family's history back generations. There were documents proving rightful inheritance, land titles, and items of considerable value that some powerful outsiders had sought for years. Among the papers, we discovered something even more astonishing: a journal written by my late husband. Its pages detailed everything about the house, the family's assets, and warnings about certain individuals who would go to great lengths to seize what belonged to us. I could feel my husband's presence in the words, his voice guiding us, his foresight protecting us even beyond the grave. Jason and I looked at each other, realizing the enormity of what we had found. Selling the house had not just been an act of protection, it had been a strategic move to buy time, to ensure these secrets remained safe until we were ready. But the documents also carried warnings. Certain names were crossed out, others circled. Notes in the margins suggested that some individuals knew of the hidden assets and were actively searching. Our hearts raced. We weren't safe yet, danger was close, and every decision now mattered. Then, tucked in a corner, we found a small locked box unlike the others. Jason picked it up, eyes wide. This is the key piece," he said. He retrieved a small key from his pocket, the one he had hidden months ago, and unlocked the box. Inside were golden heirlooms, historical artifacts, and a sealed letter addressed to us. The letter was written in an urgent hand, warning us that some people would do anything to claim these treasures, that timing was critical, and that our safety depended on secrecy. It confirmed what Jason had been protecting us from all along. There were others who had been watching, waiting, and planning to take the house and everything in it by force if necessary. Fear and awe surged through me. The house, which I had thought of as a place of comfort, was a vault of secrets, a target of danger, and a testament to generations of foresight and caution. Jason had risked so much to keep us safe, and now we finally understood the stakes. As we processed the discoveries, the distant sound of a car pulling up outside made my blood run cold. Someone was here. Someone had followed us or had known we would uncover the hidden room. Jason quickly whispered, "Stay calm. This is why I sold the house. We have time, but we need to act smart." We hid the most valuable items, prepared our exit routes, and braced ourselves. Every shadow, every sound, every creak in the old house carried potential danger. And yet, amid the fear, a sense of resolve emerged. We had uncovered the final secrets, and we were ready to face whatever came next, together. In that moment, I realized the full truth. The house had never just been a home. It was a fortress of memory, a repository of family legacy, and a battleground for hidden forces. And while the sale had seemed like betrayal, it had been an act of courage and love, an act that had prepared us for the challenges we were only beginning to face. Jason squeezed my hand. "We're ready, Mom. Whatever comes, we face it together." And in the silence of the hidden room, surrounded by secrets and shadows, I finally believed him. The journey was far from over, but now I was no longer afraid. The air felt heavier as Jason and I moved quickly through the hidden room, securing the documents, heirlooms, and artifacts. Every creak of the old house, every shadow flickering across the walls, felt amplified. We both knew we weren't alone. Someone had followed us, and they were here for what we had just uncovered. I tried to steady my breathing. "Jason, what if they're dangerous? What if they—" "They are," he interrupted, his voice calm but firm. "Which is why I've prepared for this. We have to stay focused, Mom. Panic won't help us now." We moved to the main floor, where the house now seemed deceptively normal. From the outside, the property looked untouched, pristine lawns, clean windows. But we knew the truth. This house was a vault, a repository of family secrets, and a target for people who would do anything to claim what wasn't theirs. Then we heard it. A faint rustling from the front yard. Footsteps. Someone was there, testing the locks, trying to see if we were home. My heart thudded painfully in my chest. Jason motioned for me to stay behind the stairs as he peered through the curtains. 2 figures were approaching, dressed in dark clothing, moving with precision. They weren't random intruders. They were professionals. My stomach twisted. For years, Jason had warned me about people who would stop at nothing to claim what our family had hidden away, and now it was happening. Jason whispered, "We need to stay calm and think strategically. Remember, Mom, the house is our advantage. They don't know all the secret rooms or the traps I've set." Traps? My mind raced, but I trusted him. For months he had been preparing, quietly ensuring that if the worst happened, we would have the upper hand. The intruders tried the front door, but it was locked as expected. Jason and I exchanged a glance, knowing they would escalate quickly. Using a hidden passage behind the study bookshelf, we moved silently to another section of the house, one that gave us access to cameras and monitoring systems Jason had secretly installed. Through the screens, we could see the intruders circling, examining windows, checking doors. Their coordination suggested prior knowledge of the property, but they didn't know everything. They hadn't discovered the hidden basement room yet, or the smaller tunnels Jason had reinforced months before. "This is why I sold the house," Jason said quietly. "It bought us time. It allowed me to prepare, to set traps, hide the valuables, and monitor anyone who might come." Fear still gripped me, but admiration followed closely behind. Jason had not acted recklessly. He had acted with foresight, courage, and love. The intruders now attempted to enter from the side entrance. Jason signaled, and we activated the first defensive measures, a loud alarm, lights flashing, and hidden barriers making entry nearly impossible. The intruders paused, confused, scanning the property, unaware that their every move was being tracked. I realized then that this confrontation wasn't just physical. It was a test of intelligence, patience, and preparedness. Jason and I had the home, the secrets, and knowledge on our side. They only had brute force and determination. Minutes felt like hours as the standoff continued. Then, one of the intruders tried the windows near the main hall. Jason quietly guided me to the hidden room, instructing me to stay behind while he handled the situation. I could hear him moving swiftly, expertly, herding the intruders away from the rooms containing the most valuable documents and artifacts. I sat in the shadows, heart pounding, as the sounds of confrontation echoed through the house. My mind raced with memories of raising this child, watching him grow, never imagining that the day would come when he would act not just as my son, but as a protector, a strategist, and a guardian of our family legacy. After what felt like an eternity, the intruders retreated, their attempt thwarted by Jason's planning and the security measures he had put in place. Silence settled over the house again, heavy but victorious. Jason emerged from the shadows, his face calm but alert. "They'll be back," he said. "We've delayed them, but this isn't over. That's why everything must stay secret, and we must stay vigilant." I nodded, realizing the full weight of what we had uncovered. The house had been more than a home. It had been a battleground, a vault and a shield. And through Jason's actions, careful planning, and unwavering courage, we had survived the first confrontation. We returned to the hidden room to secure the final artifacts and documents. Jason looked at me, his eyes filled with a mixture of relief and determination. "Mom, the truth is out now. You understand my actions, but our story isn't over. There's still more to protect, more to uncover, and more we need to do to ensure we're safe." I realized in that moment that the house, the secrets, and our family's legacy were bound together. The confrontation had been terrifying, yes, but it had also revealed something profound. Jason's foresight, love, and courage had not just protected us, they had strengthened the bond between us, preparing us to face the remaining mysteries together. And though the night outside was quiet, I knew this was just the beginning. The final chapter, the full resolution, and the ultimate truth were still waiting, and I was ready to face it. After the tense confrontation with the intruders, the house finally settled into an uneasy calm. Jason and I sat in the hidden room, surrounded by the documents, heirlooms, and artifacts we had uncovered. The adrenaline had faded, leaving a mix of relief, exhaustion, and an overwhelming sense of awe. I looked at Jason, my heart heavy with gratitude and pride. "I don't even know what to say," I whispered. "I thought you betrayed me. I thought I couldn't trust you. But everything you've done, it was to protect us." Jason shook his head gently. "I didn't want you to worry. I knew you'd be upset. But Mom, you raised me to be responsible, to think ahead, and to protect the family. I only followed the lessons you taught me, sometimes in ways you couldn't see." I felt tears prick my eyes. The house, the secrets, the hidden rooms, it had all been a test of trust, patience, and love. And in the end, Jason had shown that he was not only my child, but also my protector, my partner, and the keeper of our family's legacy. Together, we began to catalogue everything in the hidden rooms: the journals, the letters, the financial records, and the heirlooms. We documented everything carefully, knowing that while the immediate threat had been thwarted, the importance of these items and the danger they represented remained. Through the documents, we uncovered a truth that left me breathless. The house had been part of a complex family legacy, stretching back generations, tied to hidden assets, valuable artifacts, and long-standing disputes. Our ancestors had hidden these treasures deliberately, fearing outsiders who would exploit them. And now, after decades, Jason had ensured they remained safe, not just for us, but for the future of the family. The final letter from the hidden chest, written by my late husband, provided clarity. "Elizabeth, if you or your children ever find this, know that you are the guardians of what we built. Protect it with care and never underestimate those who would seek to take it from you. Trust each other, and the family will endure." As I read the letter aloud to Jason, I realized the full magnitude of what had happened. The house, which I had thought was lost forever, had been saved in a way I couldn't have imagined. The sale, the hidden rooms, the secrecy, it had all been part of a plan to protect our family legacy from danger, greed, and betrayal. We sat together in silence, the weight of the past and the relief of the present settling over us. I reached out and held Jason's hand. "I'm proud of you," I said softly, "not just for what you did, but for who you are. You've grown into someone wise, courageous, and capable beyond my wildest imagination." He smiled, the tension easing from his face. "I only did what I had to do. And now, we face the future together." For the first time since the sale of the house, I felt a sense of peace. The secrets had been revealed, the threats had been managed, and our family bond had been strengthened through trust, courage, and love. The house was no longer just a building. It was a symbol of resilience, foresight, and the unbreakable connection between mother and child. And as we stepped out of the hidden room, sunlight spilling across the floors, I realized that while challenges might come again, we were ready. The house and everything it represented was safe, our family stronger, and the lessons of the past firmly guiding us into the future. We had faced betrayal, danger, and fear, but we had also discovered courage, love, and the true meaning of trust. And in the quiet of that house, now finally at peace, I knew that no matter what came next, we would face it together, prepared, united, and unshakable.